Hi, I'm Dave from boyinaband.com, and welcome to day 4 of my 7-day song tutorial on Electro House. In day 3, I added some sweet effects to fill out the beat a bit. In day 4, I'll be teaching you how to make a sexy lead synth to go on top of our Electro House beat. This will incorporate Screamfor's tube distortion, some EQing, compression and limiting to create our effect. Okay, let's begin. Start as always by right-clicking and creating a combinator, and then name it lead, and create an instance of Thor inside. Right-click and initialize Thor, and open it up with the Show Programmer button. I'll just add in some notes now. Okay, let's take a listen to this with the notes in. Nice and simple, but notice how the notes are chromatic, like one semitone apart from each other? Remember I said in the bassline tutorial on day 2 that the chromatic scale is great for cool riffs. That's why I've used it here. I've also added in a note here, if we ever take a listen to that again. Da-da-da. That's slightly off the beat, just to give it a slight swing to the riff. And this will sound a lot better once the synth is built up, trust me. Now back to Thor. We want 3 oscillators here. If I get this playing, in fact I'll solo it out so we can hear it build up. If we get this playing, we want to have 2 multi-oscillators in addition to the analog oscillator. If we detune these 2 oscillators and take one an octave up, just so there's quite a range of frequencies in the texture of the sound, and then if I dial these in, yeah, there's quite a bit of texture there now. Now for the filter, we're going to leave the frequency and resonance at their defaults, but just take this envelope up to about halfway. This means the envelope will have quite a big effect on the filter. On the envelope, take the attack up to about 88, around there. If you shift to get more control, 88 milliseconds, and then just try and make a step kind of thing. Just bring the decay down to about 1.6, 1.5. Okay, so if we have a listen to this attack, if I take it up, it takes much longer for the filter to dial in the higher it is. So this just gives it a kind of a whop at the start of the synth effect. The decay being at about 1.5 seconds means that the synth patch lets the high frequency through for most of the effect. Now, on the amp envelope, if we take a listen, I'll just take this up to about 18 milliseconds, around thereabouts. Yeah, 17.4. That just makes it take a bit more time to fade in, giving that almost trumpet-like start to the synth, which is really cool and sexy. So then take up the sustain up to full, so it doesn't lose any volume over time. Now, there's still quite a lot of low end in this effect, which might interfere with the bass in the mix. For filter 3, I'll just start this playing, select a state variable filter, and turn it to high pass mode. Now take the frequency down to about 175 Hz, just to remove that really low end, and then take the resonance up a little bit, just to give it a bit more emphasis in the high end to around, yeah, about 63. Lastly, on this synth, just to widen it a bit, hit the chorus on, and that'll just pan it a bit left and right to widen the sound. So, now we have the basis of the sound, we're going to make it a bit more harsh so it stands out more prominently as the lead synth. Right-click and create Screamfor distortion. We're going to turn this to tube mode, which emulates a tube distortion, which is when someone pushes the power tube of their tube amp too hard. This is generally for a more overdriven warm distortion. So if we take a listen to that, there, if we have a listen without, and then with, you can definitely notice the difference there. The P1 knob here controls the contour. This is kind of like a high-pass filter, changing the tone of the distortion, whereas P2 controls the bias, essentially controlling the symmetry of the sound. To be honest, I can't really tell much of a difference with the sound in this effect, so just turn the damage control to around 80, and be done with it. Now it's time to bring out the best parts of the sound and make it sound more defined. Right-click, create M-class equalizer. Set param 1 to de-emphasize around 330 Hz by about -6 decibels, and then widen the bandwidth as well. If we take a listen to that with without it, and then with. Just here it's taking away that really bassy end, just so the bass has a bit more room in the mix. And then set parameter 2 to emphasize quite high, about the 4000 kilohertz mark, by again around 5-6 decibels, and then widen that up. And if we take a listen without, and then with, it's really bringing out that distortion from the Scream 4 unit nicely. So, now we want to make it punch a little bit more. So, right-click and create an M-class compressor. Turn the input gain up to about 8 decibels, just so there's more volume going straight into the compressor. Then turn the threshold, just leave it around minus 18 decibels, and the ratio to infinity to 1. Turn the attack up to about 80 milliseconds. This will mean that after 80 milliseconds, which is around the time it takes for the effect to swell, it'll compress the signal to minus 18 decibels. This means that even though there's a slow attack on the effect, it'll still punch harder at the start than the tail of the effect, which is good for a lead synth. So if we take a listen to that without, and then with, can you hear that punching a little bit harder at the start there? It'll definitely be more noticeable in the mix, and just gives the synth a bit more dynamic range. Finally, to make sure that punchy attack isn't too loud, right-click and create an M-class maximizer, and just hit the 4 milliseconds look ahead to brick wall limit it. So let's take a listen to that in the mix now. Sweet. And there you have it, a sexy trumpet-like lead synth that Fed Legrand would be jealous of. We're over halfway through our 7-day song. I think it's time to start looking for some hot girls who don't mind wearing practically nothing for your music video. Tune in tomorrow for day 5, where I'll be adding in the vocal hook provided by my homegirl Emmy from graphicsgirl.co.uk. Until then, check out her website and see if you can guess what kind of voice she has from her picture. Chances are you'll be wrong. See you tomorrow!
If you found this tutorial useful, help me out by rating this video or posting a comment so other people can find it. And don't forget to check out my website, boyinaband.com. Have a nice day!